Hi, everybody. Welcome to News Now, part of Fox10Phoenix.com. My name is Pilar Arias. We're keeping our very own Rick Davis very busy this morning. He is now at the scene of a junkyard fire off of Broadway and 27th Avenue. Phoenix Fire is there working to extinguish. There are traffic restrictions in the area. From time to time, I'll try to pull up his audio, but most of the time, we'll keep it quiet here unless we get any information or interviews that we need to pull up for you. But you're watching News Now, a part of Fox10Phoenix.com. Happy Monday. Thanks for being with us. All right, everyone, some additional information we are getting. Broadway Road eastbound between 27th Avenue and 25th Avenue is closed due to this junkyard fire. Please avoid the area. That is from the Maricopa County Department of Transportation Twitter. Just want to give everybody a heads up. And big thanks to Rick Davis out there providing these live ground pictures for us.
Audio test 1 2 1 2.
Rick, we have you loud and clear. Pilar here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up your audio and just feel free to let us know what you know, if you don't mind, please.
Obviously, there's a fire here at 27th Avenue and Broadway. We believe this to be some type of a salvage facility, a junkyard, if you will. What I may do, if it continues to spit out black smoke, is try and get a little closer. I'm actually on the corner of 27th Avenue and Broadway. about a block away from that fire. It's actually on the north side of Broadway and about 26th Avenue. It appears that Phoenix Fire is letting it burn a little bit right now. I do see that they've got some units inside of the yard, but no ladders in. I don't see any ladders up at this time.
Rick, so far it seems like traffic is okay. Is that the case?
You know what? If you let me pull out. Eastbound obviously is closed, but westbound on Broadway is open.
Okay, and it looks like that smoke is actually changing color there, which normally is a good sign.
Yep. Looks like they're trying to get a handle on it. But there is still some black still spewing from the bottom, as you can see.
All right, well, thank you so much to our very own Rick Davis out there providing a live report. Please stay safe.
Thanks, I will.
This is a Fox 10 News Alert.
From one breaking news alert to another, this is in Rainier, Oregon, where we're being told there's a suspicious package. No audio from their version of Skyfox out there, everybody. No audio. Looks like we may have lost that picture, everybody. Let's see if they bring it back up for us. Meanwhile, we'll take you back out to Miami, Florida, where they are still cleaning up the mess from the bridge collapse last week. All right, everybody, we now have aerials of the junkyard fire happening here in Phoenix, Arizona. Let's go on back there now. If you're just joining us here on News Now, part of Fox10Phoenix.com, welcome and happy Monday. My name is Pilar Arias. You are currently looking at a junkyard fire off of Broadway and 27th Avenue. Phoenix Fire there on the scene. As you can see, it looks like they finally got a hold of this thing. But just want to let you know, while crews are on the scene, the Maricopa County Department of Transportation is saying that Broadway Road eastbound between 27th Avenue and 25th Avenue is closed due to this situation, so please avoid the area. If you got a little bit of a later lunch break or you're heading home early, just want to give everybody a heads up as to the situation that's happening out there. You're watching News Now, a part of Fox10Phoenix.com. All right, everybody, if you're just joining us here on News Now, welcome. My name is Pilar Arias, and happy Monday afternoon, depending on where you're watching from. If you're just joining us here, I just want to let you know Skyfox is over the Lewis and Clark Bridge in Rainier, Oregon, where authorities are investigating suspicious backpacks that were left hanging from the bridge. There is no audio from Skyfox out there, everybody, but I will cut in if I learn any new information. Thanks so much for watching News Now, a part of Fox 10 Phoenix.com. I was in a little bit of a shock there, everybody. I've never witnessed such a thing live. What did y'all think about that? Just want to let you all know, momentarily we will be headed to Montgomery, Alabama, where we're being told the governor is holding a news conference in regards to some severe weather headed their way. It does look like this situation has been resolved there in Rainier, Oregon. Being told that bridge actually connects Oregon and Washington. So interesting. I've never been out there, but we witnessed that explosion of one of those bags live here. So again, we're going to be switching gears here any second now. Thanks so much for watching News Now, part of Fox10Phoenix.com.
It is important to announce and be sure that all of our people understand the necessary. Now is the time to take necessary precautions during today's disruptive weather. Joining me today are Alabama EMA Executive Operations Officer Jeff Smitherman and the state meteorologist Jim Stefkovich, and they will both provide an update momentarily. We've already endured some severe weather already in the state, but Jim tells me that the stronger storms could come from now into the night and early Tuesday morning. It's impossible for us to know exactly where and how this storm will land, but it's all important that our systems are all prepared to go, and so we'll be prepared for the impact on our state. While most of our state is under a slight or enhanced risk of severe storms, the northern part of our state is under a moderate risk, and that means the chance for high and strong winds, for tornadoes, very large hail, and damaging winds across parts of the Tennessee Valley and all the way down to the Birmingham area. I want to make this very clear. We are not taking this situation lightly. On the state level, we are working closely with our local partners so that we are all ready to respond if needed. So now is the time to start making your plans to leave or where you plan to get in your safe location. Some of us could see 70 miles per hour or higher winds, baseball-sized hail, and even a tornado. My team and I have been monitoring this system throughout the day. Some businesses and school systems heeded these warnings and they've closed early. The exact locations of where these storms will form are unpredictable, and that is why it is paramount that we prepare ahead of time. Alabama EMA and local county EMAs are working closely to ensure resources are in place should they be needed. We do not anticipate a widespread event, but those who do experience storms will most likely experience even strong and more severe storms. All Alabamians, but especially those in the northern half of the state, must make sure they and their families are well prepared and heed any other directions that come from state or local officials. Prepare, pay attention, and listen to local officials. This is my advice to all Alabamians this evening. Folks, as we head into the spring season and warmer weather approaches, we will most likely endure many possible extreme weather events. This situation will not be the last time we face severe weather this year. And we cannot say for sure what will happen tonight, but it's also very hard to say where the storms likely will develop. But I am proud to say that we are ready to support the people of Alabama and to respond should the need arise. So to my fellow Alabamians, please make sure that you are prepared, that you have a plan in place if the storm does come near you, and that you are taking this serious threat seriously. May God continue to bless you and all the people of Alabama. I'll now turn it over to State Meteorologist Jim Stefkovich for his comments.
Thank you, Governor. So to tell you what's going on right now, there's what's called a PDS, a particularly dangerous situation tornado watch in effect for the northern half of the state. And what that means is not only will we likely experience very large hails, the governor mentioned, up to the size of baseball, and 70-mile-an-hour straight-line winds, but the potential for strong to violent long-track tornadoes is also a real possibility. The highest threat of severe weather over the northern half of the state will start decreasing in intensity somewhat as it moves further south during the evening hours, but still there is a risk of severe weather all the way as far south as Greenville and Dothan, and for areas eastward well into the overnight hours. So that tornado watch, which currently runs till 11 p.m. tonight, may be extended both in time and further southward. As the governor mentioned, a number of storms are developing over right now in eastern Mississippi, and they will be moving into northwest Alabama between 4 and 6 p.m., reaching the I-20-59 corridor between 7 and 10 p.m., and exit eastern Alabama south of I-85 and east of I-65 sometime around midnight to 2 a.m. You know, I'm often asked with every tornado event, how does this compare to April 27, 2011? And what I tell everyone is that one storm, one tornado, if it hits your house, that's your April 27th. So now's the time to be prepared, as the governor mentioned, and then we're going to get through this together. With that, I'll turn it over to Jeff Smitherman, the Executive Operations Officer with the Alabama Emergency Management Agency.
Thanks, Jim. Good afternoon. I am Jeff Smitherman, the Executive Operations Officer for the Alabama Emergency Management Agency. And I'd like to say that on behalf of the governor, we have increased the activation level of our State Emergency Operations Center to level 3, which means we've increased the staffing and extended the hours for the staffing of the Emergency Management Agency to cover during the serious threat times this hazardous weather imposes on us. We'll prepare for any actions that, any impacts that may be felt by the counties. We'll work closely with those counties using our division staff to work with the counties, the local jurisdiction, and the state partners in those divisions. We can never stress enough that how serious everybody needs to take the threat of severe weather as we enter into the severe weather season for the state of Alabama. As Jim indicated, this storm has the potential to produce tornadoes, large hail, and isolated damaging wind, and everyone really needs to take that serious and go ahead and at this time implement your safety plan, whatever that may be for your particular situation. It's time now to go ahead and make your preparations and implement your safety plan. I want to commend particularly the school superintendents that take the proactive measure working with the local meteorologist projections and forecasts for their areas and adjusting their school schedules so that we took the children's safety at heart and got them in where they could implement their safety plan with their parents. As you all aware, again, March is the first month of this, so expect more to come for this season. This is just the beginning, and it is the first one, so everyone needs to really focus on this one and develop your plan and implement it. Throughout the weather event, following this press release, you can get additional information off our website at ema.alabama.gov or follow us on Twitter at AlabamaEMA. At this time, this concludes the press release. Thank you.
All right, everybody, we are going to head back out to Miami, Florida, where they are continuing to give us some live visuals of the bridge collapse site that they are still cleaning up. All right, everybody, if you happen to miss the First Lady of the United States, Melania Trump, and the President of the United States, Donald Trump, this morning, this afternoon, depending on where you were watching from, we aired it here on News Now in its entirety, talking about the plan for the opioid crisis in the U.S. We're actually going to play that for you again here now, and I'm likely going to double block these live images out of Florida for you as well. So thanks for watching News Now, part of Fox10Phoenix.com.
Address an issue posing a major threat to our society. Before I begin, I want to thank members of law enforcement for all they do to protect us each day. You are each heroes, and this administration will always honor your life-saving work. In my role as First Lady, much of my focus has been towards understanding the negative effects the opioid epidemic is having on our children and young mothers. I have seen firsthand both the medical and personal results of this crisis. Last month, I visited Cincinnati Children's Hospital in Ohio and met with doctors and nurses who shared their research on neonatal abstinence syndrome, or NAS. NAS is heartbreaking development in newborns who are exposed to opioids before they are born. Many young mothers are not even aware of this disease, so we must continue to educating them about the real dangers of opioids on unborn babies. More recently, Betty Henderson shared with me a tragic story of losing her son to drug addiction. She suffered a pain no parent should ever have to endure, the loss of a child. Unfortunately, her story is just one of many because of this epidemic. I'm grateful to people like Betty who have the courage to share her story in an effort to raise awareness. And while this crisis has taken hold of our country, the American people have responded. The results can be seen in the creation of Lily's Place in West Virginia, a care center that takes in tiny infants with NAS and nurtures them back to health. Real progress is also being made because of the hard work by doctors and nurses across the country who have taken special interest to research and offer resources for those addicted to opioids. I'm proud of this administration's commitment to battling this epidemic. Just a few weeks ago, we held another opioid summit at the White House, where multiple panels came together to help all affected by drug addiction. I'm honored to be here with you all today and to work alongside so many people across the country with the shared goal of ending this battle. Thank you to the Manchester Community College for having us today. And now I would like to introduce my husband, the President Donald Trump.
Thank you to our First Lady, Melania, who has been so incredible. Thank you. And we are blessed to have you as our First Lady. Really are. It's great to be back in the beautiful state of New Hampshire. I don't know if you remember, but this is the first place I came for the primaries yet. And this is the room right here, so I like this room. This has been a good room. We're honored to be joined by your wonderful and very talented governor, Chris Sununu. Chris, thank you. Thank you, Chris. Oh, and there's another talented governor, Governor Sununu. Stand up. I have to tell you, there was nobody tougher on Trump at the beginning. It's true. There was nobody on television tougher. And then we met each other, and we liked each other, and he went from the worst to the best. Governor, thank you. I mean that too. Thank you. I want to thank also Attorney General Sessions and Secretary, thank you, Jeff, Secretary Azar, Secretary Nielsen, and Surgeon General Adams for joining us at this very important event. The First Lady and I just visited the Manchester Fire Department Safe Station, talking about it all over the country. The Fire Chief, Dan Goonan, and all of the first responders with us today, thank you. You've been incredible, and you're saving American lives. We're also joined by a number of law enforcement officers who we love. Our police, DEA, ICE, Border Patrol agents, and customs officers work night and day to keep drugs out of our communities and criminals off of our streets. So today we thank you, we honor you, and we want you to know that we will always have your backs 100%. Thank you very much, law enforcement. Thank you. I especially want to acknowledge all of the families with us today who have endured terrible hardships because of the opioid crisis, and especially those who have lost precious loved ones. I've been saying this for a long time, and it all started right here in New Hampshire, because I see what you're going through, about as bad as there is anywhere in the country. And I said I'd be back, and we are back, and we're pouring a lot of money and a lot of talent into this horrible problem. And we pledge to honor the memory of those you lost with action and determination and resolve. We'll get it. We will not rest until the end. And I will tell you, this scourge of drug addiction in America will stop. It will stop. Every day, 116 Americans die from an opioid-related overdose. In New Hampshire, the overdose, really death rate, I mean, can you believe this? The death rate is double the national average. It's got difficulties like people wouldn't believe. Defeating this epidemic will require the commitment of every state, local, and federal agency. Failure is not an option. Addiction is not our future. We will liberate our country from this crisis. Never been like this. Hundreds of years, never been like this. And we will raise a drug-free generation of American children. Last October, we declared the opioid crisis a public health emergency. Should have been done a long time before. Since then, we've worked with Congress to ensure at least $6 billion additional dollars going through right now in new funding in 2018 and 2019 to combat the opioid crisis, and we will be spending the most money ever on the opioid crisis. On our most recent National Prescription Drug Take-Back Day, people across the country turned in more than 900,000 pounds of unused or expired prescription drugs, more than the weight of 3 Boeing 757s. Our Custom and Border Protection and these people, the job they do is incredible. Seized nearly 1,500 pounds of fentanyl last year. nearly 3 times the amount seized in 2016. And I told China, don't send it. And I told Mexico, don't send it. Don't send it. In 2017, ICE arrested criminal aliens with 76,000 charges and convictions for dangerous drug crimes. Last year, the Department of Justice prosecuted more than 3,000 defendants in cases involving opioid, all of the trafficking and the related crimes, 3,000 cases, including a pharmacist, a physician's assistant, and an opioid trafficker, each charged with committing serious drug crimes in New Hampshire. Whether you are a dealer or doctor or trafficker or a manufacturer, if you break the law and illegally peddle these deadly poisons, we will find you, we will arrest you, and we will hold you accountable. Thank you. Here in New Hampshire, I applaud all of the drug enforcement agents and law enforcement officers who recently coordinated Operation Granite Shield, an 18-hour enforcement action targeting drug traffickers that resulted in the arrest of 151 people. These are terrible people, and we have to get tough on those people, because we can have all the blue ribbon committees we want, but if we don't get tough on the drug dealers, we're wasting our time. Just remember that. We're wasting our time. And that toughness includes the death penalty. You know, it's an amazing thing. Some of these drug dealers will kill thousands of people during their lifetime. Thousands of people. And destroy many more lives than that. But they will kill thousands of people during their lifetime. And they'll get caught, and they'll get 30 days in jail. Or they'll go away for a year. Or they'll be fined. And yet, if you kill one person, you get the death penalty, or you go to jail for life. So if we're not going to get tough on the drug dealers who kill thousands of people and destroy so many people's lives, we are just doing the wrong thing. We have got to get tough. This isn't about nice anymore. This isn't about committees. This isn't about let's get everybody and have dinners and let's have everybody go to a blue ribbon committee and everybody gets a medal for frankly talking and doing nothing. This is about winning a very, very tough problem. And if we don't get very tough on these dealers, it's not going to happen, folks. It's not going to happen. And I want to win this battle. I don't want to leave at the end of 7 years and have this problem. Okay? I don't want to, right? Okay. Thank you. Not going to happen. Thank you all. A lot of voters in this room, I see that. Thank you. No, we're going to solve this problem. We're going to solve it with brains. We're going to solve it with resolve. We're going to solve it with toughness. Because toughness is the thing that they most fear. That's what they most fear. So to the brave agents and officers, thank you for protecting us all. Last year, my commission on combating the incredible crisis of opioids issued 56 recommendations. My administration agreed with all of the commission's goals, and we've worked aggressively to put them into action. Today, I'm here to announce additional steps that we're taking as part of our nationwide initiative to address the opioid crisis and, by the way, the drug crisis, the general drug crisis. First, we're taking action to reduce drug demand by preventing Americans from becoming addicted in the first place. So important. That includes increasing federal funding for the development of non-addictive painkillers. And we have to come up with a solution where we come up with a painkiller that's not so addictive. And we can do it. We're not that far off. We can do it. These things are incredibly addictive. So we're going to find that answer also. Here with us today are Jim and Jean Moser. They lost their beautiful son, Adam, to a fentanyl overdose. His addiction began with prescription pills he found in their kitchen cabinet. They have since begun the Zero Left initiative to help families get rid of excess painkillers. Jim and Jean, we're sorry for your loss. A great boy. He's a great boy. And we applaud your strength and your leadership. And where are you? Where are you? Come on up. Come on up here. Come on up here. Tell us about your boy.
Wow. Adam was our oldest son. He was a great kid. He was a smart kid. Grew up out in rural East Kingston, New Hampshire. He had a degree in actuarial science, which, as many of you know, that's the science of forecasting risk. He was the kind of kid that made you feel really good about yourself. You give him 5 minutes, you really liked him. And, you know, he just made a bad choice one night, as smart as he was. He found his way into our kitchen cabinet, and sadly, the rest is history. He got hooked on it and had to go to the street eventually, and he found fentanyl. And he's been gone for 2.5 years, and we miss him every day. Thank you.
Thank you, darling. You take care of
Thank
yourself,
you.
okay? Thank you. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you. And so many cases like that. We're also taking action to prevent addiction by addressing the problem of over-prescribing. And our Department of Justice is looking very seriously into bringing major litigation against some of these drug companies. We'll bring it at a federal level. Some states are already bringing it, but we're thinking about bringing it at a very high federal level, and we'll do a job. We're going to cut nationwide opioid prescriptions by 1/3 over the next 3 years. We're also going to make sure that virtually all prescriptions reimbursed by the federal government follow best practices for prescribing. We'll ensure that opioid addiction is not subsidized by the American taxpayer. The best way, so important, and the best way to beat the drug crisis is to keep people from getting hooked on drugs to begin with. As part of that effort, so important, and this has been something that I've been very strongly in favor of, spending a lot of money on great commercials showing how bad it is, so that
we're going to continue streaming this on the Fox 10 Phoenix Facebook Live as well as fox10phoenix.com, but we got to take a quick break.
I don't want any part of it. That's the least expensive thing we can do, where you scare them from ending up like the people in the commercials. And we'll make them very, very bad commercials. We'll make them pretty unsavory situations. And you've seen it before. And it's had an impact on smoking and cigarettes. You see what happens to the body. You see what happens to the mind. So we're announcing a new website, crisisnextdoor.gov, where Americans can share their stories about the danger of the opioid addiction and addictions. But we're thinking about doing really a large-scale rollout of commercials that show how bad it is for the kids. And when they see those commercials, hopefully they're not going to be going to drugs of any kind, And we'll save a lot of lives, and we'll make their life a lot easier. This epidemic can affect anyone, and that's why We want to educate everyone. The second part of our initiative is to reduce the supply of illicit drugs. 90% of the heroin in America comes from our southern border, where eventually the Democrats will agree with us and will build the wall to keep the damn drugs out. Pretty amazing. They don't want to go with DACA because they don't care about DACA, but they're trying to tie the wall to DACA and DACA to the wall, and they want to keep DACA for the campaign instead of getting it approved, which we could do very easily. The Republicans are totally in favor of doing something substantial for DACA, but the Democrats like it as a campaign issue, so they don't get it approved. And they want to tie it to the wall, which is okay with me, but both should get approved. They don't want it to be approved. Remember what I said. They don't want it to be approved. They want to make it part of the campaign. Well, we'll make it part of the campaign also, and we'll win, because we're going to win on those issues. My administration is also confronting things called sanctuary cities that shield dangerous criminals. And every day, sanctuary cities release illegal immigrants and drug dealers, traffickers, and gang members back into our communities. They're protected by these cities. And you say, what are they doing? They're safe havens for just some terrible people, And they're making it very dangerous for our law enforcement officers. You see it all the time. As the people of New Hampshire have learned firsthand, ending sanctuary cities is crucial to stopping the drug addiction crisis. And your governor, who is great, the numbers are going down in New Hampshire. I don't know if you've seen it, but the numbers are going down. Chris, we would just stand up, Chris. It's really one of the few bright spots where the numbers actually are going down, and that's a tremendous achievement. Thank you, Chris. According to a recent Dartmouth study, the sanctuary city of Lawrence, Massachusetts, is one of the primary sources of fentanyl in 6 New Hampshire counties. ICE recently arrested 15 MS-13 gang members. These are not good people, folks, okay? These are bad, bad people. They don't use guns. They'd rather use knives because it's more painful and it takes longer. These are bad people. In Boston, Massachusetts, which is a place where you have sanctuary cities, I'm repeating my call on Congress to block funds for sanctuary cities and to close the deadly loopholes that allow criminals back into our country and into our country in the first place. You know, some things are very understandable. We have lots of issues where we're on both sides of an issue, and you can understand the other side even though you don't agree. Sanctuary cities are hard to understand for people because they don't get it. They don't get it. You see what's going on in California, how terrible it is, how dangerous it is, and they're all trying to protect sanctuary cities. And whether it's Kate Steinle or so many others, they'd be around today if these people weren't allowed back into our country through, in this case, the southern border, at least 5 times. And look at the damage. And then look at this verdict. Look at the verdict. Can you believe the verdict? So we have to get a lot smarter. We have to get a lot tougher. And speaking of tough, because here with us today is ICE agent Derek Dunn. Derek worked with state police to uncover a major drug smuggling operation in Lawrence, Massachusetts. Where's Derek? Derek! Where's Derek? Come here, Derek. I love tough guys. We need tough guys. Come here, Derek.
just want to say thanks for everyone being here, and it's been a battle. It's been an absolute battle for our counterparts here at DEA and FBI and everybody, all the law enforcement, state police, and the local police. It's been an absolute battle. We all work together, and we're going to get this solved.
Thank you. He didn't know he was going to do that. And you didn't know you were going to do that, but that's in honor of your boy, right? It made a big impact. I also want to mention ICE agent Ron Morin and Manchester police detective Patrick McGuire. They helped lead the team that arrested a terrible human trafficker who used opioids to harm, in a very violent way, his victims. Thank you both for bringing the trafficker to a very strong and swift justice. Where are you guys? Thank you.
Well, that's going to do it for News Now on Fox 10 Extra, but the stream continues on fox10phoenix.com if you'd like to continue listening to the president. I'm Pilar Arias. I'll see you tomorrow.
We're also shutting down illegal online marketplaces and preventing drugs that come from China and other countries from bypassing our borders, and we're getting very tough on it. It's not that we have a choice. We don't have a choice. We can be nice, and we can be soft and weak, and you're not going to have a country left. So we have to strengthen up our laws so that we can do what we have to do. We have to stop this from happening. Drug traffickers kill so many thousands of our citizens every year. And that's why my Department of Justice will be seeking so many much tougher penalties than we've ever had. And we will be focusing on the penalty that I talked about previously for the big pushers, the ones that are really killing so many people. And that penalty is going to be the death penalty. If you look at other countries, I've gotten to know the leaders of many countries. And I won't mention names, but you know the countries I'm talking about. I go around, how's your drug problem? We don't have much of a drug problem. What do you mean you don't have a drug problem? Well, we don't have. I say, how come? We have zero tolerance for drug dealers. I say, what does that mean? That means we have the death penalty for drug dealers. We don't have a drug problem. Take a look at some of these countries where they don't play games. They don't have a drug problem. We have court cases that last 10 years, and then they get out at the end. We got to be tough. We have to be smart. We have to change the laws, and we're working on that right now. The Department of Justice is working very, very hard on that. But the ultimate penalty has to be the death penalty. Now, maybe our country's not ready for that. It's possible. It's possible that our country's not ready for that. And I can understand it, maybe. Although personally, I can't understand that. But there are people that are good people, that are strong, smart people, and they would differ with most of us. But I think unless you do that, unless you have really, really powerful penalties led by the death penalty for the really bad pushers and abusers, we are going to get nowhere. And I'm telling you, we are going to get somewhere. Companies must also be held accountable. The Department of Justice recently created a task force to coordinate investigations and lawsuits against manufacturers and other bad actors that harm our citizens. And I can tell you that Jeff Sessions, who's here with us now, feels so strongly about this. And they're working very hard and very effectively on that. And so we appreciate that very much. Thank you. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you. I can think of nothing more important. The third part of our initiative is to get life-saving help to those who need it. We're going to make sure our first responders have access to life-saving, overdose-reversing drugs, which, by the way, are amazing. Here with us today is Mike Kelly, the president of Adapt Pharma. Adapt Pharma makes an overdose reversing a drug for opioids, which I've watched and seen work. It's called Narcan. It's actually incredible. Today we applaud Adapt Pharma's decision to provide free Narcan to all high schools, colleges, and universities in America. I'd like you to come up, Mike. Come up. Where's Mike? Come up, Mike.
Hi, everybody. Pilar Arias here with you on this Monday afternoon. Just a friendly reminder, we are replaying President Donald Trump's speech earlier today from Manchester Community College. Coming up in just a few minutes here in Phoenix, we're going to be having a news conference regarding the Uber self-driving accident that happened here. It's actually a news conference in Tempe, Arizona. That's coming up momentarily here on News Now.
Free for every high school in the United States, as well as educational awareness for the nursing departments as well as the faculty to train and teach everybody about the dangers of opioids and the risks, and also the benefits of having Narcan nasal spray near where opioids are.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Mike. It's amazing, generous. And I've watched the police and the fire. They come around and they become so good at it, but I've seen people that are just about dead wake up. Now, the problem is they then go back in many cases to the drugs and they do it again and again and again. But we have to work on that. We have to work on that very, very strongly. I also want to recommend and commend a Richmond-based company, Kaleo, for donating more than 300,000 doses of their overdose-reversing drug to first responders, which has already saved more than 5,000 lives in a very short period of time. My administration has made clear that medical providers can share crucial information with family members about an overdose so that their loved ones can help them get into treatment. We need treatment. We're making medically assisted treatment more available and affordable, and we continue to increase competition and drive down drug prices. And we're driving them down. We're going to have a major news conference probably at the White House in about a month, because all of you people, and I'm talking about prescription drugs, not necessarily the drugs that we're talking about here, but we pay as a country so much more for drugs because of the drug lobbies and other reasons, and the complexity of distribution, which is basically another term for saying, how do we get more money? And if you compare our drug prices to other countries in the world, in some cases, it's many times higher for the exact same pill or whatever it is, in the exact same package, made in the exact same plant. And we're going to change that. And I would like to ask Secretary Azar just to come up and mention opioid, but also talk about how we're getting your drug prices down. And we've already saved billions of dollars for our country, and it's reflected in much lower drug prices. Watch what's going to happen over a short period of time. This man is one of the great professionals, ran an incredibly successful drug company. Who knows better than the guy running the drug company, Eli Lilly? And that's your company, right, or was? Was. Now you're on the other side, though. So nobody knows better. The most respected man in that industry, and we got him to work because he loves our country. Would you tell them a little bit about what you have planned for drug prices and also opioids in terms of stoppage, please? Secretary.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. And, you know, you've done a lot already to tackle this issue of drug pricing. So last year, the FDA approved more generic drugs than it ever has in its history, and that brings prices down for patients, for the system, for everybody. You also changed the rules so our senior citizens pay less out of pocket for their drugs. That's $3.2 billion that they're paying less out of pocket for their drugs when they go to the pharmacy. And then we're going to be rolling out, as you mentioned, in about a month, a whole slate of other proposals around how we decrease the price of drugs and how we bring discounts that the middlemen right now are getting, how those will go to our patients, to individuals. Now, we're attacking this with the same level of action, determination, and resolve that you're bringing to the opioid crisis. And that's where we're focused on prevention and getting that 1/3 fewer illegal opioid prescriptions to our people. The second is stopping the illicit flow of these opioids into our country. And the third is compassionate treatment for people, evidence-based, science-based, compassionate treatment that can help people recover and stay away from relapse. So thank you, Mr. President, for your leadership.
Thank you, Alex. You'll be seeing drug prices falling very substantially in the not-too-distant future, and it's going to be beautiful. And I want to thank also Scott Gottlieb. Scott is working on different things, but one of them is called Right to Try. Do you know what Right to Try is? These are for people that are terminally ill. And there are very, very good-looking combinations of things, or pills, medicines, potential cures, and they're terminal, and they're not going to be living much longer. And we don't have the right to give them these experimental drugs or these early-stage drugs that really show promise for whatever reason. But they say because they don't want to harm somebody, if you can believe it. They don't want to harm. So the people will oftentimes go to foreign lands, foreign countries. They'll do anything. They want hope. They want hope. Right to try. So we're working with Congressman Greg Walden and numerous other senators and congressmen. And I think we're going to have good luck. The Democrats have been pushing back on it, but I think many of them are also coming along. It's called Right to Try. A patient is terminal. There's good progress made with a certain drug. We're going to make it possible for that patient to get that drug. And maybe it's going to work. It's hope. It's incredible. They've been talking about this for years and years and years. We're going to get it approved. So important. To further expand treatment, I'm also calling on Congress to change the restrictive 1970s-era law that prevents Medicaid from paying for care at certain treatment facilities with more than 16 beds. It's such an important factor. In the meantime, my administration is granting waivers to states so they can help people who need treatment now, Governor. We're also going to help inmates leaving prison get treatment so they can have a second chance to become productive, law-abiding citizens. And what we've really done for the inmates, it's very hard for them to get out of jail and get a job. What we've really done for them, better than anything we can sign, any legislation that we can pass demanding that you hire, we're getting a great economy. It hasn't been this good in many, many years. Some people say it's never been this good. And what's happened is, as you see, unemployment is way down. And people are starting to hire inmates. And the results are incredible. Some of these employers are calling up saying, wow, what great people. We're giving them a second chance. It's very, very important. So the tremendous economy is helping us very much with that program. We want every American, thank you. We want every American to be able to reach their full God-given potential, and we will succeed together as one people, one nation, and one great American family. Because Americans never give in, and we never, ever give up. This group never gives up, right? Never give up. Your boy. The brave families here today remind us that the strength of America is found in the heart of our people. We see America's heart in the parents who won't accept addiction as the fate of their children. And if something horrible has befallen that family, they go around and they want to make sure it never happens to another family. And that's why we thank you so much, and we thank your boy. He did not die in vain. We see it in the sons and daughters who cheer on moms and dads as they recover. We see it in the doctors and nurses who provide constant and loving care. We see it in the heroic law enforcement officers who race into unimaginable danger. We see it in EMTs and firefighters who act so quickly to save so many lives. And we see this American heart in the men and women who fight every day to help rescue their fellow citizens from the grips of addiction. These are the courageous souls who remind us that for America, there is nothing beyond our reach, nothing at all. Nothing. We will defeat this crisis. We will protect our beautiful children, and we will ensure that tomorrow is better, brighter, stronger, and greater than ever before. Because as long as we have trust in our citizens, pride in our country, and faith in our God, we will not fail. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Together, we will end the scourge of drug addiction in America once and for all. We will win. We will beat it. We'll be tough. We'll be smart. We'll be kind. We'll be loving. We'll do whatever we have to do. But we're going to win. Thank you. God bless you, and God bless America. Thank you very much. Thank you.
This is a Fox 10 News Alert.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Fox News Now, part of Fox10Phoenix.com. You are taking a live look now at the podium where we are expecting officials to come out any moment now and provide us an update in regards to the self-driving Uber car that killed an Arizona pedestrian. Gonna get you up to speed here really quickly. An Arizona woman was killed after being struck by a self-driving Uber vehicle early today. So it looks like it was overnight from last night into today. An incident believed to be the first of its kind. Photographer setting up the shot here. The accident in the Phoenix suburb of Tempe caused the company to suspend all testing of self-driving vehicles in cities across the country. A Tempe police sergeant told Fox News that Elaine Herzberg, 49, was walking outside of a crosswalk when she was struck by the vehicle just before 10 p.m. We're being told the vehicle was traveling northbound just south of Curry Road when a woman walking outside of the crosswalk crossed the road from west to east when she was struck by the Uber vehicle. So again, we're waiting for this news conference, Newser for short, to start any moment now. The woman was taken to a nearby hospital where she later died. The self-driving Uber was in autonomous mode at the time of the collision, and there was a vehicle operator behind the wheel. Authorities plan to hold that news conference here at 3 p.m. Arizona time, which is in just a couple minutes here. Uber said on Twitter the company is fully cooperating with local authorities as the investigation continues, and told Fox News it has halted testing of the self-driving vehicles in cities across the country. This is a quote. "Our hearts go out to the victim's family," Uber comms tweeted. "We're fully cooperating with Tempe police and local authorities as they investigate this incident," end quote. Uber CEO Dara, I cannot pronounce that last name of hers. Looks like it's Kroshowashka. Shahi, forgive me, I probably said that wrong. She tweeted, quote, "Some incredibly sad news out of Arizona. We're thinking of the victim's family as we work with local law enforcement to understand what happened," end quote. The company has been testing autonomous vehicles in Pittsburgh, San Francisco, Toronto, and the greater Phoenix area for months. Automakers and tech companies are competing to be the first with the technology. The National Transportation Safety Board said it was sending a team to investigate the crash. So this news conference should be starting any moment now to provide us an update. You're watching News Now, a part of Fox10Phoenix.com.
Hey, start again. I'm told 5 minutes from now. All right.
I think it's cool. I came out of the heat, so. Oh, well, I'm still with it. Good luck. All you do is play the player. See you, buddy. How are you? Yeah, and then tomorrow you see the guys. Video. Somebody's got to do it. MLB. I'm too busy. Then coming up fall. NFL teams. Cool. Yeah, just do the pressures. That's what's needed. Set beforehand, faxed out. Going up upstairs. What? We're the same age, aren't we? 66. I just turned 63. You got a year ahead. You retire, what you got?
Good afternoon. We thank you all for coming out to the media availability this afternoon to talk about the accident that occurred last night, the fatal accident that occurred last night. So last night about 10 p.m. we started receiving calls of a vehicle accident that occurred on Mill Avenue just south of Curry Road here in Tempe. Vehicle was traveling northbound on Curry Road. Vehicle was traveling northbound on Mill Avenue just south of Curry Road. The time this vehicle was traveling northbound, there was a pedestrian that was walking a bicycle from the west side of the road to the east side of the road. Once that vehicle got into the lane of traffic of the vehicle, once the pedestrian got into the lane of traffic with the vehicle struck the pedestrian, at which time she was transported to a local area hospital and was pronounced deceased at the hospital. Investigators were able to talk to the driver of the vehicle. The driver was identified as Rafael Vasquez, 44-year-old. Rafael was cooperative, and there was no impairment shown for the driver of the vehicle at the time. The pedestrian was identified as Elaine Herzberg, 49-year-old. Family was notified, and again, the investigation continues. Just talk about the vehicle, because I know there'll be some questions about the vehicle. The vehicle was a 2017 Volvo XC90, which is an SUV. It was gray in color. We had an opportunity to speak to the family, and we in Tempe, our hearts go out to the family and friends of the pedestrian that was struck crossing the street last night. The vehicle was a Volvo again. It was a self-driving vehicle. It was in the autonomous mode at the time. Also, the vehicle operator was behind the wheel of the vehicle at the time. Message that we do want to share out is obviously the safety of our citizens here in Tempe is of utmost importance. And we just want to make sure that our citizens are safe. And if there's availability to do it, please use the crosswalks when you're crossing the street. Again, nobody wants to go through this. We in our department are investigators, and I'm sure the family also. None of us want to go through this ever again. So using the crosswalks will definitely limit any tragic incidents from happening again. At this time, we can take any questions that the media may have.
Any idea how fast the vehicle was going?
Preliminary investigation showed that the vehicle was traveling at approximately 40 miles an hour. But again, our investigation is just beginning. It's in the early stages, and there's going to be some details that we don't have specifically, but that's what we have initially.
Did the car ever show any signs of slowing down before it hit the woman?
Again, our investigation did not show at this time that there were significant signs of the vehicle slowing down, but our investigation is going to reveal more once it's complete.
And about how far from the crosswalk was the woman when she was going across the street?
Thank you. I don't know the answer to that question at this time.
Has there been any kind of conclusion drawn thus far as to whether it's the vehicle's fault or the pedestrian's fault?
There's no conclusion. We hate to draw conclusions. A conclusion will come at the end of the investigation. But again, the vehicle was traveling northbound, and the pedestrian was outside of a crosswalk. So it was mid-block. And as soon as she walked into the lane of traffic, she was struck by the vehicle that was traveling northbound.
Is there anything you can share with us as far as a statement that the driver of the vehicle may have made? Did he indicate that he didn't see the bicyclist, the pedestrian walk across with the bicycle? Did he say she just kind of came out of nowhere? Did he say it was dark, he never saw her? Anything you can share about his statement?
Sure. I do not have information I can share about the statement. Again, this is just the beginning stages of this incident, and that is part of the investigation. So we can't, I don't have any information on that right now.
Is the operator's responsibility to take control if there is something around that car?
I can't speak to the policy and procedure for Uber. I'm sure that's the perception. However, I don't have the information as to that being the responsibility. Again, I'm sure many would think that that's a responsibility, but that would be a question for them.
So if there were charges, is it possible the operator, though he wasn't driving, would be charged?
This investigation is going to go to the county attorney's office, so I don't have any information on charges at this time. That's going to be up to the county attorney's office. And once they decide whether there's charges or not, then that determination can be made.
Is there dash cam video that shows the accident? Are there different angles showing perhaps one pointed at the driver? How much evidence do you have in terms of video from the car?
Thank you. There is evidence. There is video evidence available. That video evidence is not available to be released at the time because it is part of the investigation.
So there's dash cam video showing a forward shot. Is there video of what the driver's doing? Like how many angles do you have?
There are several angles that show the driver, and they show outside of the vehicle to the front, and they show the driver also.
Have you seen that video?
I have.
You have?
Yes, I have.
Can you describe what that video shows?
It just shows the vehicle traveling northbound, and it shows the pedestrian approaching the vehicle.
How helpful will that video be in this investigation? I mean, not every car has that many angles, videos, sensors. Obviously, the investigation, that video and the sensors should greatly help, correct?
Sure, it will definitely assist in the investigation, without a doubt. Our investigators have that information, and they will be using that as a part of their investigation, as will the Maricopa County Attorney's Office using it as part of their investigation.
Do you go about this just as if someone was actually driving the vehicle? Is the investigation the same, trying to determine who's at fault? Could the accident have been avoided? Was there something the driver or the vehicle could have done differently? Is the investigation basically similar, whether or not it's an autonomous vehicle or whether or not there's an actual person behind the wheel?
Right. The investigation is going to be similar in the fact that they are going to attempt to try to find, who was possibly at fault and how we can better be safe, whether it's pedestrians or whether it's the vehicle itself. But that is going to be a part of the investigation.
Can you describe as best as you can what it means when you say in autonomous mode? Because the layperson may not understand what exactly that means pertaining to how this vehicle operates when it's out and about on the roads.
Right. Autonomous mode, that would be something really for Uber to identify as autonomous mode, but the idea of the driver not having to be in physical control at the time, but a driver being behind the wheel. So as for an exact definition of what autonomous mode is, I'd probably have to refer you to Uber so they can better answer that question for you.
And so maybe about a year ago, the same kind of vehicle, self-driving Uber car, was involved in another collision. That one, nobody was hurt. But, I guess how often are you responding to accidents, fender benders involving these kinds of vehicles?
Right. For me, those are the only two that I know of. Those two incidents, again, the first one, as you had mentioned, there weren't any injuries, and this one, very unfortunately, ended up being a fatality. But as to how many of those are the two that I know of for sure, and I'm not aware of any more.
Was the woman who was struck by the vehicle suspected of being impaired?
There were no signs of impairment shown initially in the investigation, so no.
Was she homeless?
Was who homeless, ma'am? The victim? I don't have that information. I believe she may have been, but
And do you know where she was coming from?
Not per se where she was coming from, just on the street. She was coming from the west side of the street, but prior to that, I don't know where she was coming from.
Do you know if it was one of those yellow bikes that you just pick up, and was that the bicycle she was pushing?
I know that that's new information here, and I don't have that information at this time, if that was that yellow bike.
At the point where she was crossing, was it fairly dark? And you know that it's a well-lit area where the impact took place, or what can you tell?
Well, I think that's going to be a part of the investigation. It was, I mean, obviously the lights of the vehicle there, but as to speak to any other lighting, I don't have that information at the time. We will be providing more information tomorrow about the same time regarding this, and we won't be taking any more questions at the time. So we appreciate it. We thank you very much for coming out here.
Can you just say and spell your first and last name?
Sorry about that. Yes, Sergeant Ronald Elcock. Last name is E-L-C-O-C-K with the Tempe Police Department, Media Relations Unit.
Can you spell the driver's name?
All right, everybody, they're wrapping things up there.
Raphael.
But just want to let you know, they did say they will provide an additional update tomorrow, so we'll carry that here on News Now, part of Fox10Phoenix.com. You've been watching the Fox 10 Phoenix Facebook Live. Thanks so much, and have a great rest of your day.
And the victim?
The victim's name, Elaine Herzberg, E-L-A-I-N-E. Last of Herzberg, H-E-R-Z-B-E-R-G.
Date of birth?
She's a 49-year-old, and let me look at the date of birth for you. (8/2 of 68).
Do you have the middle name?
I do not, sir.
Thank you.
I don't have that information available to me right now. I appreciate it. Thank you. I do not have that information, sir.
All right, everybody, they just wrapped up things there. We're taking a live look at St. Louis, Missouri, where it looks like they're getting some rain out there for sure. Remember, we like to show you the beauty shots here and kind of travel together, right? So what about the New York City skyline? Wow. Can somebody paint me a picture of that? That is absolutely gorgeous. That's a picture that I would want hung up on a wall in my house. It's absolutely beautiful, gorgeous. Empire State Building right there, skyscrapers. Wow. When you look at the progress of our country and you see a city like that, you can't help but be amazed, right, everybody? All right, well, we have another beautiful picture here, but I don't know where it is. They were in Florida earlier, but I'll take you there now. I'm not quite sure where that is. If it's on a beach or a lake, it looks kind of beachy to me, but looks gorgeous nonetheless. We'll take you back out to St. Louis, Missouri here really quickly. More News Now coming up. If you're a first timer here, welcome. Please do us a favor, click that subscribe button. You'll be alerted anytime we go live. Thanks so much. Audio is going to be getting loud here, everybody. Just a fair warning.
Both from East Ghouta and Afrin. The UN and its partners have been informed of the desperate conditions of people who have left East Ghouta and Afrin and who are tired, hungry, and traumatized and afraid, and we need to provide them with urgent aid. These civilians are facing harrowing humanitarian conditions. Many remain trapped by conflict. All are in desperate need. Insecurity and fierce hostility continue to endanger the people of East Ghouta. Since March 11th, at least 25,000 people have reportedly left East Ghouta. UN teams have been visiting on a daily basis the collective shelters in Dwer, Adra, and Herjela in rural Damascus, where people who have left East Ghouta are staying. All of the shelters are well over capacity, with more people continuing to arrive on a daily basis. Most of the people interviewed had some health conditions, likely due to years of lack of access to medicine and health care. Meanwhile, nearly 100,000 people have been displaced by hostilities in Afrin district. The majority of some 75,000 people have fled to Tal Rafat, and the remainder went to Nubul, Zara, and surrounding villages. The massive influx of internally displaced people is putting a strain on host communities, which are already overwhelmed. All 16 schools in Tal Rafat are being used as internally displaced shelters, resulting in the interruption of education. And back here, the Emergency Relief Coordinator, Mark Lowcock, briefed the Security Council following his visit to the Democratic Republic of the Congo last week. He stressed that humanitarian needs in the country have doubled over the last year, with 13 million people in need of assistance in a context of persistent insecurity and bureaucratic impediments. He added that the single largest impediment to the humanitarian response was underfunding. This year, the appeal requires $1.7 billion, nearly 4 times what was secured last year. The Emergency Relief Coordinator encouraged the high-level participation pledges by the Security Council members to the first-ever humanitarian conference in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, which will be organized on April 13th in Geneva. He stressed that we also need solutions to address the root causes of the worsening crisis, including on the political front, as well as Congo's neighbors who have to behave responsibly. Progress in the Democratic Republic of the Congo is possible, Mr. Lowcock told the Council, saying that infrastructure has improved in many major cities, access to education has increased, and child mortality has fallen. We need to strengthen our support to its people, he added. His remarks are available in my office. A new report issued today by the UN Human Rights Office and the UN peacekeeping mission in the Democratic Republic of the Congo says the right to freedom of peaceful assembly was severely restricted and often violently suppressed in the country in 2017, and the trend continues so far this year. The report is based on information collected during the six main mobilization days. While some people armed with sticks and broomsticks did attempt to perpetuate violence during some protests, the vast majority of demonstrators were peaceful. The use of excessive force, including lethal force by the authorities, was just unlawful, unjustified, and disproportionate, according to the UN report. The special representative for the UN in the DRC, Leila Zerougi, said the report highlights impunity gaps and a continued shrinking of the democratic space in the country observed since the start of 2015. Turning to Mali, our colleagues from the Department of Peacekeeping Operations tell us that they've been informed by the Canadian government of its intention to deploy an aviation unit, including helicopters, to the UN mission in Mali. Canada's contribution will play a valuable role in the continued efforts to bring peace and stability to Mali in the Sahel, and we are grateful to the pledge of these important assets and for Canada's contribution to peacekeeping. We understand the aviation assets should be on the ground in August. Further detail are being discussed between the United Nations and the Canadian government. And our humanitarian colleagues report that an interagency team has been deployed to the districts in Madagascar most affected by Tropical Storm Eliakim. Access remains a major challenge, as most of the impacted area is in the northeast, is only accessible by air and sea during the rainy season. 17 deaths have been reported so far. About 2,500 residents have been forced to evacuate. And in Brasilia, UNESCO today launched its World Water Development Report, which highlights nature-based solutions such as generating soils and forests, harvesting rain and water, and preserving wetlands to address water management challenges. Nature-based solutions, also known as green infrastructure, can help improve water quality, reduce risks associated with climate change, and enhance water availability. According to the report, water management is heavily dominated by human-built or gray infrastructure, while green infrastructure remains underutilized. UNESCO argues that an approximate mix of green and gray investment can maximize benefits while minimizing costs. The report is on UNESCO's website. Also related to UNESCO, tomorrow my guest will be Guy Berger, the Director of Freedom of Expression and Media Development at UNESCO. And we say thank you to our friends in Bangkok today, as Thailand has paid its regular budget dues in full, bringing us up to 68. I shall now take questions. Masood.
Since yesterday, there have been saber rattling by India and Pakistan over the occupied Kashmir, and even the former Indian Prime Minister Manmohan Singh accused his successor, Mr. Modi, of fanning flames of fire against Pakistan. And Pakistan and India are now again, being that they're a nuclear state, they're again ready to go to war. Do you have anything to say about that?
Well, obviously,
Secretary General?
we following the situation there closely as we always do, and we would encourage dialogue between the parties to settle any outstanding differences.
Besides that you've been saying, has there been any movement that that the Secretary General has talked to the Prime Minister of either Pakistan or India?
Nothing to report to you at this time, Masood. Yes, ma'am. And then.
Does Mr. Guterres and the UN in general has already any statement about illegal elections in Crimea territory?
No, I don't have anything at this point, but I hope to have something for you.
Because you may understand that the EU, United States, all democratic countries already had a statement last week about that. One of the bases of their statements is international law and these decisions of General Assembly.
Our position on Crimea and the following General Assembly resolution is unchanged and will not change. And I will come back to you if I have more. Yes.
Stefan, I heard your update about the situation in Afrin and the SG's comments in his remarks last week about the situation there. But from the reports on the ground, the situation is way more dire. There are serious accusations of ethnic cleansing, of mass killings. I mean, I have these pictures that we verified in my networks, things like this. I don't know if you can look at it right now. I'm holding it in my hand. These are verified pictures, and these are civilians, and authorities on the ground are saying these pictures, and for the record, are results of deliberate targeting of civilians. That is why there was a big influx of refugees leaving
what is the question?
The question is why there's lack of reporting, first of all, about the number of casualties, civilian casualties.
Well, as you know, we are not...
And why there's no condemnation from Secretary General and demand Turkey to stop this military operation.
Two things. I think the Secretary General's statement concerning the ongoing fighting and the lack of implementation of Resolution 2401 late last week still stands, and those feelings remain. We have our humanitarian colleagues have received reports through the Syrian Arab Red Crescent and UNFPA of incidents in Afrin City of threats of violence and arbitrary arrest of civilians, as well as looting of property. The United Nations views these reports with utmost concern and demands the parties to the conflict to respect their obligations under international humanitarian law and human rights law. But I would also repeat that we are not directly present in Afrin at this time.
And one follow-up on that, Stefan, about the right of the people to return to Afrin and their area. Can you give me any update about that? There are major concern of safety for civilians to return.
Of course, there are concerns of safety. I mean, we understand that there's still some fighting going on. Everyone should be able to return home in a safe and dignified way. What is important for us is that Resolution 2401 be fully implemented. On Crimea, to your question on Crimea, I can say we do not pronounce ourselves on member states' elections absent of a mandate to do so. With regards to the situation in Crimea, the General Assembly expressed itself on several occasions, notably through Resolution 68-262 on the territorial integrity of Ukraine and Resolution 71-205 on the situation of human rights in the Autonomous Republic of Crimea and the city of Sevastopol. Matthew.
Sure. I wanted to ask you, there's a number of reports around the world about a Myanmar proposed law on international NGOs, which would regulate reports of not only international but the UN, separate from them. So I'm wondering, and a lot of the group, I know that OCHA sometimes coordinates with NGOs that have these concerns, but it would regulate the UN as well. Is the UN aware of this law? Do they believe that it would apply to them? And what's the status, and I'm sorry to ask this again, but of the envoy that was discussed in September?
No update on the envoy. The discussions are ongoing. I mean, no updates to announce. The discussions are obviously very much ongoing. We're aware of the law. The presence of the UN is regulated through the Charter and through international obligations that member states have. But obviously, we've seen the law is being debated, but I will leave it at that principled response.
Okay. I want to ask you about another principle. I actually have a couple of these, but one is directly, I think, on Department of Political Affairs. Today at the stakeout, Sweden's ambassador, Olaf Skog, basically denied something that's in the DPRK panel of experts report, which is that it's in Annex 6.3. It says that a company based in Sweden falsified the origin of DPRK coal, saying it came from Russia instead of from DPRK. So he says the company's not based in Sweden and that the panel of experts never contacted Sweden to ask. And the bottom of the annex, it says source member state. And so I wanted to ask you as a general matter, given that DPA both staffs these things up and I'm assuming sort of oversees them, what are what's the standard
the panel of experts are independent panels that report to the Security Council. It's not whatever support we give the panel of experts is a secretarial support in terms of hiring, the administrative support that we give. But the reports of the panel of experts is not one that the Secretariat drafts. It's independent panel of experts.
But isn't the pool of people put on? I mean, isn't there? What is the UN's role with these? And is there any? Who would then set the sort of the standards or just the basic guidelines? I'm not trying to.
Well, they also report. They report back to a committee, a sanctions committee, and I'm sure if members of the committee have issue with the panel of experts, or that will be done within the confines of the committee and the Security Council. It's not for the Secretariat to comment.
But not on the specific. But I'm saying, should they ask before these things are published? Do they ask the country, or I thought that was sort of basic?
As I said, it's an independent panel. It's not for me to comment on their work. These are.
Yeah, I'm sure you've seen these reports coming from Al-Ghouta, where some chemical labs were found by the Syrian army, and it was published in The Guardian, for example, on Saturday. Detailed description about these labs. Also allegations by those who are exiting from Ghouta that the rebels have been testing with these chemical weapons and with the intention of using them.
What is the question?
You've seen these labs probably as published. What is the position of the United Nations regarding the rebels?
The position of the Secretary General, he stands firmly against any use of chemical weapons, regardless of who uses them. Any use needs to be fully investigated, and there needs to be accountability for those who use them. As you know, our access to East Ghouta is limited. The OPCW has a mandate to receive reports of the use of chemical weapons. As far as the accountability mechanism, as you know, the Security Council failed to renew the mandate of the Joint Investigative Mechanism.
But you are collecting information from those who are exiting Al-Ghouta, as you did in the past. I mean, in the past when you accused, you said there are reports, but we cannot ignore them.
So what is the question?
Do you ignore? I mean,
we don't ignore any information that is given to us.
Are you checking with these exiting?
Whatever information we get, we would not ignore any information. Yes, sir.
Thank you. In Nigeria Human Rights.
Your microphone, please. There we go. You're good. Oh.
In Nigeria Human Rights Group, Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project has written to the UN Security Council to designate the armed herdsmen operating the country as a terrorist organization following the attacks in the north-central Nigeria. I want to know if the UN has received the letter, and also the DSG's visit to Nigeria this weekend. Is the issue going to form part of her consultations with the Nigerian leaders?
I will get you an update on the Deputy Secretary General's visit, and I'll see if there is actually, if we can confirm the receipt of the letter. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Stefan. I'm sorry if you talked about this, but I arrived a little late.
If you haven't heard it, it's new to you.
Canada mentioned over the weekend they were going to send helicopters and troops to support the UN mission in Mali. Mm-hmm. There were not a lot of details. I wonder if you can tell us more specifically the amount of helicopters and troops that are going to be sent, and if you can give us an update on historically how many troops have been killed in that mission.
I can't give you that update off the top of my head, but as we know, Mali has been one of the deadliest peacekeeping missions for UN peacekeepers over the last few years. Unfortunately, on a monthly basis, almost, if not more, we have seen peacekeepers being attacked, targeted, or killed by improvised explosive devices. On the Canadian contribution, they will be sending an aviation unit, which should be deployed in August. This aviation unit includes helicopters. I'll try to get you the exact numbers, but obviously this is very much a welcomed development, very much a welcomed announcement by the Canadian government. As you know, Canada has a long and storied presence in UN peacekeeping, and we're very glad that they will be represented in Mali with such a key deployment.
The initial announcement a few years back was of about 600 troops. Is that what they're going to be
right
sending?
Now? What we've been able to confirm is the intention to deploy an aviation unit.
So no troops.
Well, again, an aviation unit comes deployed with support personnel, but I'm not aware of any infantry or specific troop deployment. Matthew.
Sure. I'm just going to go now on this, since you're going to look into the Deputy Secretary General's trip to Nigeria. I wanted to know, previously when she was there, the issue of the 47 Cameroonian, many of them UNHCR, accredited or whatever, designated refugees being refueled to Cameroon. That issue. Does the UN know any more about where those 47 people are?
Nothing more than what we said at the time.
And another part of her trip, I guess either just after that, she's going to the Czech Republic about ECOSOC. So I was going to, and may still ask Brendan this, but I wanted to ask you this. It has arisen, the group, the China Energy Fund Committee, the founder or the ultimate owner in Shanghai has reportedly been brought in for questioning, and it turns out he was not only an advisor to Sam Kutesa as PGA, but also an advisor to the Czech Republic president. So the Czech Republic has sent people to sort of look into his situation, but the Czech Republic also has the presidency of ECOSOC. So noting that I haven't gotten any answer from the Czech
I think those are questions that you should address to the presidency of ECOSOC.
I guess, but my question is an overall UN question. Is there any? It seems like it might be a conflict of interest if your president has a business relationship with an NGO to be in charge of the committee that is
that's a question from member states. That's a question for member states. Member states elect the presidency of ECOSOC. They elect the bureau. Those are member state questions. I struggle to answer the questions directed to the Secretary General. I think member states need to answer other questions.
Okay, let me, DPKO question.
Go ahead.
Okay, the government of Japan has disclosed in response to a House of Representatives inquiry that two, and this is a very serious thing, two of their self-defense forces that were deployed in South Sudan have committed suicide since they returned to the country. They say it's not related to the service. Others feel differently. But my question to you is really, I mean, most militaries in the world conduct some kind of studies of like post-traumatic stress, what happens to people after they deploy. And I'm wondering, maybe I don't think you'll know it off the top of your head, but has DPKO ever looked at this issue? I mean, maybe they
I don't know. I'll check, but obviously, you know, I will check the welfare and the conduct of the troops is the responsibility of the troop contributing country. That being said.
All right, everybody, we have just about 20 minutes left here on News Now for this Monday, March 19th. If you are a first-time viewer, welcome. We're happy to have you. If you could please do us a favor, click that subscribe button. You'll be alerted anytime we go live with breaking news. Earlier today, 2 women accused actor Steven Seagal of sexual assault. Let's listen in to the news conference they held this morning in California.
I want him to be aware. I want him to acknowledge what happened and apologize. I am so thankful for the support of my loved ones, my family, my friends, my community, and Fabiola. I am deeply thankful for Lisa Bloom and her firm for standing with me and beside me. I'm thankful for those of you who've reached out to me to offer your support and your kind words. I'm grateful for all of you here today who've given me a chance to speak my truth. Thank you. My name is Fabiola Davis. In 2002, when I was only 17 years old, I was sexually assaulted by Steven Seagal. I suppressed many of the details of this painful experience so far back in my memories that it was only upon reviewing the facts surrounding this incident with my psychologist, my friends, my family, and ex-manager that I realized that I was still a minor when this horrible incident occurred. At the time, I was modeling and recording background vocals for a group of musicians. I was introduced to Steven through the producer who was involved in the recording project, and he arranged for us to meet. Steven was casting for a movie, Genghis Khan, and I was beyond excited to have a chance to audition for a role in one of his films, as I had grown up admiring him. I'd been modeling internationally for many years, but I was relatively new to Los Angeles, having just moved to the United States from the Netherlands, and was looking to make my big break in the industry. I was invited for an audition at the Club Bar in the Peninsula Hotel, Beverly Hills. I immediately connected with Steven over our shared interests in Buddhism and martial arts, and was invited back for another audition. His assistant and other individuals were always present, and these meetings took place in public. Following these 2 auditions, Steven and I developed a friendly relationship via text and phone calls. There was never any indication that I should have cause for concern up until then. I was then invited by Steven for a private audition where he explained that he would like to evaluate my figure to see if I would be suitable for the role. He asked me to book a room myself at the W Hotel in Beverly Hills, and I explained that I did not have the funds to do so, and I did not feel comfortable doing this, and I suggested that he should book the hotel himself, which he did. His assistant told me to arrive wearing a bikini or bra and panties underneath my clothing, and as this is quite standard in the modeling industry, I agreed to do so. Steven requested that we meet at the W late in the evening. I was taken up to Steven's room, by his assistant, who repeated to me multiple times in the elevator, "Stephen's word is as good as gold." I thought this was a bit strange, but I did not comment. I was very surprised that when I arrived there were no other individuals present in the room, and Stephen's assistant left me alone with him and his personal security guard. Stephen asked me to take off my clothes, which I did, although I was nervous considering there were no other individuals present, and do a catwalk through the room for him. I did so, and Stephen approached me and said that he would like to act out a romantic scene to get a sense of our chemistry. I felt uncomfortable because I was in my bikini, and I shyly expressed this. However, instead of respecting my boundaries, Stephen slipped his hand underneath my bikini top and began pinching my nipples, and simultaneously slid his hand across my vaginal area, which was only meagerly covered. I quickly yelled that this audition is over, and I began gathering my things. Stephen sat there calmly, as if nothing had happened, while I was noticeably upset and terrified by the experience. Stephen's security guard stood, blocking the doorway, and only moved when Stephen motioned for him to do so. I left feeling horrified and totally violated. Stephen attempted to reach out after the audition, but I did not take any of his phone calls. At the time, I did not tell anyone for about a month because I was scared and I thought it was my own fault. I thought that I should have known better for going to an audition late at night. I didn't realize that it wasn't my fault at all. I had been taken advantage of by someone with a lot of power. Slowly, my friends, my family, and my ex-boyfriend started to see that I was acting differently, and eventually I told them what happened. They encouraged me to speak to a psychologist and report the incident to the police. I started seeking therapy, but I was terrified to report the incident to the police because I felt that if I did so, my career would be over. Stephen was a high-profile celebrity, and I was just a model trying to build my career. At that time, when victims came out to accuse celebrities, very few people believed them, and they were blacklisted. We were blacklisted from the industry. Following this terrible experience, I have suffered from depression, anxiety, post-traumatic stress, and have found it difficult to form trusting relationships with men. And have seen psychologists and psychiatrists to discuss this, as it is something that never goes away. After many years, I finally reported this incident to the LAPD with the help of my attorney, Lisa Bloom, in hopes that my statement will provide support for other women who Stephen may have also assaulted, and encourage others to come forward and report these incidents to the police no matter when they happened. Until you experience sexual assault yourself, it is hard to explain why it might take such a long time to come public with these very disturbing experiences. So many women like myself live in fear of what people might say about them and what might happen as a result of reporting sexual assault. According to statistics from the criminal justice system, out of every 1,000 women who are raped, only around 300 report this to the police, and of those, only 6 lead to a conviction. The most highly cited reason for not reporting is a feared retaliation. And one of the most highly cited reasons for reporting is to prevent reoccurrence or escalation. This is why I chose to report this now. Now this issue is finally being given the voice that it deserves. The Me Too movement and the many brave women who began to speak out about their experiences of sexual assault by high-profile celebrities inspired me to do the same. This movement has spread across the world. I'm no longer in the industry myself. I'm currently a doctoral candidate, completing my PhD in clinical neuroscience. I came here today all the way from Amsterdam to be here with you all, and I'm very grateful that you're all here. Thank you. Despite absurd accusations that Lisa has paid us to make this up, I am here completely of my own volition, and while Lisa has generously taken on my case for free, this is actually costing me time and money, because I feel it is so important to speak about what Stephen did to me. I'm not driven by a desire to make money or have fame or receive anything in return for reporting this now. This is about accountability, and I hope that this may help other women to have the courage to come forward also. I want to thank my mom and my sister and all of my other friends and family, Regina and Lisa, and the many other individuals who've reached out to support me during this time. I want to thank you all for being here and allowing me the time to tell my story. Reliving this experience over and over again has brought up many difficult emotions, and I'm so very grateful to finally be able to break this silence.
I'm attorney Lisa Bloom, and I am so honored to represent Regina and Fabiola as they seek justice and accountability from Steven Seagal. This is the first time each of them has had the opportunity to write out her story and then stand and speak it publicly.
All right, everybody, good morning. We are going to switch gears here. All right, everybody, this is a replay from earlier this morning. As you can tell, you hear my voice there. Lady Melania are going to be heading to... That's all right. We can switch gears anyway, right? Let's go live to the Golden Gate Bridge there in San Francisco, California. Got a Freightliner there. That's what they're called, right? Or is Freightliner just for air? Cargo ship? That's probably the better term there. Passing underneath the bridge live. Beautiful picture there. It is almost 4 o'clock here in Arizona. They are the same time as us there in California. Let's show you the conditions out here in Arizona as well. Look at that. Lots of sunshine. A little bit of a breeze perhaps for the mountain cam there. All right, let's go back to that New York City skyline because I think it's absolutely positively beautiful. Hey, if you're a first-timer here, thanks so much for watching News Now, part of fox10phoenix.com. We appreciate each and every one of you. We have just a few minutes left here for the day, so if anything breaks, we will for sure break in. I'll try to find something for about 8 or 9 minutes to show you in the meantime. You're watching News Now, part of fox10phoenix.com. Thanks so much. Tell you what, we had a news conference this morning in regards to the 4th Austin package explosion or bombing, however you want to refer to it. So let's listen for the remaining time that we have together this afternoon to that for a little bit. You're watching News Now, part of fox10phoenix.com. Thanks for being with us.
Good morning. Thank you all for coming out. I want to give you an update of where we're at on the investigation of the explosion that took place in this neighborhood last night. Again, I'm Brian Manley, Chief of Police of the Austin Police Department, Fred Milanowski, the Special Agent in charge for the ATF, Christopher Combs, the Special Agent in charge of the FBI, Troy Gay, an Assistant Chief with the Austin Police Department. Again, we're here for an incident that began last night at approximately 8:32 when we had an explosion take place in the neighborhood behind us. That explosion injured 2 people that were walking along the side of the road. Those individuals are currently in a local hospital. They are a 22 and 23-year-old males, both Anglo males. They are both in the hospital right now. They are in stable condition, but they did receive significant injuries from the explosion that took place. Where we are right now, we have made the scene safe this morning. As you all know, we held the scene last night, given that it was dark and given that we believe that a tripwire may have been in effect on this device. Given the safety concerns that gave us for not only this neighborhood, but for all of the public safety professionals that are here working this, we held the scene overnight so that we could process it in daylight in a much safer way. What we have been able to do this morning is do another sweep of the entire area so that we know that the area is now safe, and we now have the specialists from both ATF and FBI conducting the post-blast investigation behind us. We have additional resources being brought to bear in Austin to continue assisting us in this ongoing investigation. We have bomb technicians from both the San Antonio Police Department as well as the Houston Police Department en route, and the Texas Department of Public Safety is assisting us as well, bringing in additional resources. There has already been a significant presence from our federal partners since these events began, and as we reported yesterday, we have over 500 agents and their teams working on Austin cases alone, and we have additional resources being brought in again by both of those agencies. And as has already been broadcast, there is a $100,000 reward out there for someone who can give us a tip leading to the identification of the suspect or suspects in this incident, along with another $15,000 reward that's been put out by the governor's office for the same. We would like to reach out to those that live in the Travis Country neighborhood behind us. If you have video surveillance on your house, whether it be surveillance cameras, Nest cameras, anything like that, we want to get your video footage so that we can have that analyzed and identify any potential suspicious persons, vehicles, or anything that may be of interest to this investigation. So again, if you live in Travis Country and you have video surveillance on your home, please contact us at 512-974-5210 so we can get in there quickly and get that video. This neighborhood is still being locked down right now for safety, and we expect it to be so until approximately 2 p.m. today, but we will update that as necessary throughout the day. Again, we're doing this in overabundance of caution so that we can keep this neighborhood safe while we process the scene. There's still a significant amount of evidence. As you can imagine, with a blast scene like this, the evidence is strewn across quite a significant distance, and it's going to take us a while to methodically go through and collect this evidence so that we make sure we get it right. What I can tell you is, based on the preliminary review that we have done at this time, we have seen similarities in the device that exploded here last night and the other 3 devices that have exploded in Austin starting on March 2nd. Again, this is preliminary information, but we have seen similarities. The big difference in this device, again, is we believe that a tripwire was used in this device. Agent Milanowski from the ATF is going to talk here in a little while and go over tripwires and what all that entails. So that will be covered in more depth here in a few minutes. What we want to reinforce is the safety message that we've been putting out to this community for quite some time, and we've obviously updated that a little bit. In the past, we've been talking about the importance of not touching suspicious packages, not moving packages, not handling packages. The belief that we are now dealing with someone who's using tripwires shows a higher level of sophistication, a higher level of skill, and so now what we are imploring the community to do, if you see any suspicious object or item that looks out of place, do not even approach it, but instead call 911 and report that to the police department so we can send folks out to check that and ensure that it is safe. So again, do not approach these suspicious items, anything that you may see, whether it be a bag, a backpack, a box. And again, this is why we have avoided giving specific descriptions of the prior 3 devices because it was never confirmed that that would be the design that this suspect or suspects would stick with. So that's the important message today to this community, is make sure that you are safe and make sure you contact us if you see something that looks suspicious or that looks out of place. Again, we want to ensure the safety of this neighborhood, and we want to make sure that we're doing everything we can as we work through this investigation to do so. With that, I'm going to ask Special Agent Malinowski to come up and talk a little bit about tripwires.
All right, we want to talk a little bit about this because this device is a little more sophisticated than what we have seen to date. All the evidence from the previous devices is at the ATF National Laboratory, as will this evidence, but the tripwire is a victim actuated switch. It literally uses some kind of wire, and when there's pressure put on that wire, it activates or detonates the device. So it can be either from tripping over it or picking up the package. Any tension that's put on that wire, sometimes it's thin filament.
That's going to do it for our news now, part of Fox10Phoenix.com this Monday, March 19th, 2018. This year is just flying by. Going to take you back to that New York City skyline there because it's such a beautiful picture. I hope you all will join me back here tomorrow. All right, we'll see you then. Everybody have a great evening and night.